So as a review from yesterday, we were learning about the distributive property. So remember, distributive property is where you actually take anything that is inside brackets, and then if there's a number on the outside of it here, as in this example, then we need to distribute the number on the outside of the bracket to all the numbers on the inside of the bracket. So in this case, we have 2 times 3 plus 6n, and the 7 plus 6n are all in brackets. So I'm going to go 2 times 7, as I did here, and then I'm going to add 2 and multiply that by 6n. And I'm using addition here because that's what was in between the two terms that were in the question. So when I bring this all together or collect like terms, then I have 14 plus 12n. In this example here, we have negative 4 times 6 plus 5r. And the 6 plus 5r is all in brackets. So I need to apply the distributive property or distribute the negative 4 to the 6 as well as the negative 4 onto the 5r. So in my first set of my first line that I do, I have equal sign, negative 4 times 6 plus negative 4 times 5r. Now when you first look at this, you'll see that you're like, well, why is there a plus and a minus together? Well, remember when we see two numbers together, two signs or operations together, we treat them as if they become one. So we know that if two signs are together and they're both the same, then they become positive. If they are two signs that are different, then they become negative. So in this case, this is going to be a negative 4 onto 5r. So when I do my work for it, I get negative 24 minus 20r because negative 4 times 5r is negative 20r. So in this next step, you will have hopefully had a chance to practice the multi-step equations. And so what I've done here is I've gone through a few examples that I would like you to go through. So we're first of all going to go through the question step by step, and then we're going to pause the video so that you have a moment to actually take the time to check your work. I will not be checking the work in this particular exercise, but I will be advising you at each time to pause the video so that you can go back and check your work just to make sure that you've done your equation correctly. So in this first equation, which is actually at the top of the page that is titled Multi-Step Equations, Integers, and this was the first page that you were given, you'll just notice just to the right of that title, you'll see a level 1 level 1 colon S1. So this is the first question on that first page that I gave you. So we'll notice here that we have 3 onto x minus 4, which is all in brackets, which equals 2 onto negative 2x plus 1. So we're going to put the distributive property into action here. And we're going to multiply the 3 onto the x, and we're going to multiply the 3 onto the 4. So what we'll get in our first set here is 3x, that's what 3 times x equals, minus 3 times 4. And I keep my subtraction here the same as the one up in the question. And then I'm going to have my 2 onto negative 2x plus 2 times 1. So now when I start multiplying the work through, I should get an answer of 3x minus 12 equals negative 4x plus 2. Now, if there are any questions at all in the class, please raise your hand and ask the teacher to pause the video so that he can help you or she can help you work through this. So now in our next step, we have to remember we're trying to get x to the left, or all variables to the left, and all numbers to the right. And remember, we do reverse BEDMAS, which is SAMDEB. So when I look at this, subtraction is the first item that I have. So I have a negative 12x, but I also have a negative 4x. So what I chose to do is I chose to actually subtract the 4x, the negative 4x, take care of that first. So I have 3x plus 4x minus 12, which equals negative 4x plus 2. Now, yes, you could have done it differently, and you could have taken care of this negative 12 here first. That is interchangeable. However, it's something that becomes a preference. Now, when we collect all of our like terms here. So a 3x and a 4x, those are similar terms, meaning that they both have an integer being multiplied to x, and then the negative 12 is a separate term. Okay, so when I collect my like terms, I get 7x minus 12, and then negative 4x plus 4x. They cancel each other out, and I'm left with positive 2 on the right side. So the next step in this process, what I need to do is I need to continue getting x by itself on the left side and getting all of the integers or all the numbers onto the right side of the equation. So what I need to do now is do the opposite of what is being done to this 12. So it's being subtracted by 12 now, so I'm going to add 12 to both sides. When I go in and do it, I have 7x minus 12 plus 12 equals 2 plus 12. I then, once again, collect my like terms. So negative 12 plus 12 is going to cancel each other out, and I'm going to be left with just the 7x on the left side. But then 2 plus 12 equals 14. And you'll notice I continue to keep my description here on the right-hand side as I go along. Now the last line that I have to worry about is I have the 7x, and I need to get rid of this 7. So in order to get rid of 7, since it's 7 times x, because in between this x and the 7 is an implied multiplication, I need to do the opposite of what is being done to this. So the opposite of being multiplied is being divided by 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. When I divide both sides by 7, I end up getting a total answer of x equal to 2. So at this time, what I would like you to do is to please pause the video and then just check your work as I had taught you before by putting x equal to 2 back into the equation, and just see if you still have a balanced equation at the end of your checking your work. Our next question that we have is on the same page, and it is number 2. So we have 8q plus 6 equals 4q minus 14. Now, when I look at this, we don't have any distributive properties to have to worry about. We don't have to do any multiplying at all right now. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to implement this SAMDEB. So looking at this, I have a couple of options. I could either take care of this 4q and get that over to the left side, or I could get rid of this positive 6 here and get that over to the right side. The process that I chose to do is to take care of the 4q. So what I did is I did 8q minus 4q plus 6 equals 4q minus 4q subtract 14. So when I then collect all of my terms that are like, so 8q and 4q are alike, so they can be combined together, and then this 4q and this 4q can be combined together too. But when I collect them all together, I'm left with 4q plus 6, and that equals negative 14. Now I'm left with all of my q's on the left side like I want, and now I need to get all of my numbers to the right side. So in order to do this, I need to subtract 6 from both sides. So I have 4q plus 6 minus 6 equals negative 14 minus 6. And once again, I simplify everything, and I'm left with 4q equals negative 20. Now we have our 4q here, and we need to get q by itself. So once again, the implied application or operation that is being done here is 4 times q. So in order to get rid of this 4 times q so that q is by itself, I must divide this side by 4, and then I divide the other side by 4, because what I do to one side, I must do to the other side in order to keep a balanced equation. This gives me an answer looking like this, and notice that I put them in brackets here, and I just put them in brackets here because I want you to realize that 4q divided by 4, the 4 and the q are both attached together, and that the 4q, the whole thing is being divided by 4. And then I have negative 20 divided by 4. Then I should get an answer of q equal to negative 5. So at this time, take a moment and ask questions if you have any questions. And also take the time to check your work and just make sure that when you put -5 into the equation, you are going to get your balanced equation with the same number on both sides of the equation. For this next question, this is the third question on the same first page that we've been working on. And you'll notice that it looks a little different than what you were given on the question. The question actually gave you 9 equals v plus 4 over v plus 12, which looks very similar to this, but I've added brackets. And this is so that you can realize something here. Because of SAMDEB, we think, oh, well, we've got to get rid of the plus. Well, if I all of a sudden get rid of this plus 12 here or this plus 4, I am now working with a whole bunch of fractions and having to find common denominators. So what you need to do is think of whatever's on the top or the numerator of the fraction. They're actually all in brackets. Okay, they work all together. Nothing happens to one without the other one being attached to it, we'll say. Same with the denominator. So I want you to see that they are in brackets. So we need to take care of the whole bottom or the whole top at the same time until we get rid of those brackets. Okay, so the first step that I need to do then is I need to get rid of this v plus 12 that's on the bottom here. I don't want to work with fractions. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't have to worry about a common denominator. All I need to do is get this v plus 12 over to the other side. So the way to do that is to multiply both sides by v plus 12. So notice what happens when I write my new equation. I have 9, and it's on into brackets, v plus 12, and that equals v plus 4, which was from the original equation, times v plus 12, okay, and it's all over v plus 12. So now this v plus 12 here is going to cancel out along here, and then I'm left with 9 onto v plus 12, which equals v plus 4. Looking at this, we now can resort to the distributive property. So I want to multiply 9 times v and 9 times 12. When I do this, I've got 9v plus 9 times 12 equals v plus 4. This is the distributive property. Notice that, yes, I could have just gone ahead and solved what that was, but because we are just beginning to do this, I would ask that you please do each step one at a time until you become very comfortable and sure of yourself of how to do each of the steps. Now the next step that I have to do is I have to multiply the 9 times 12 and see what that equals. So I have 9v plus 108 equals v plus 4. Now this format that we have left looks very similar to what you had before and what we've practiced for the past couple of days. So now I want to get v's all to the left side and all of the numbers to the right side. So my first step that I've chosen to do is I'm going to subtract v from the right side and subtract v from the left side as well. So then I'm left with 9v minus v plus 108 equals v minus v plus 4. I then collect my terms or simplify, and I have 8v plus 108 equals 4. Now I have 8v, all my v's are on the left side. I need to get this 108 over to the right side so that I can have all my numbers on the right side. So this means I'm going to have to subtract 108 from both sides. And when I simplify that, I'm left with 8v equals negative 104. So with negative 104 and v and this 8 here, I've got to get this 8 out of the way. The only way to get 8 out of here is to do the opposite of what is being done to it, which is multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8, and then that gives me an answer of v equal to negative 13. Take a moment now and pause the video and ask any questions that you might have at this moment. Remember to raise your hand so that the person that is helping you will have a moment to come around and ask you or answer your questions one at a time. And at the same time, if you get a moment, please take the time to check your work and make sure that when you put negative 13 into this equation, that it will give you a balanced equation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the second page that we have. Now, please turn to this page. You may have taken some time to finish the rest of the questions on the first page, but let's go over this one now so that the people that are working ahead and doing fine and understand everything can still work, and people that are still a little bit lost can still learn some new information and still practice this and see if it makes a little bit more sense. But we can always go back and replay the video again so that you can try this all again. So for this first question, it is the first question on the page that says level 2 colon S1. So when I read this, I have 6 plus 3z plus 1 divided by 8 equals 2z plus 11. So once again, looking at this, remember that we need to have these brackets put here. Now just ignore this for a moment here because I notice that I still have this here. But pretend that we have brackets between the 3z plus 1 and then the 8 is on the bottom. So what I want to do, I guess 2 spots get open there, is I want to subtract 6 from both sides because that's actually what I need to do, because based on SAMDEB, I have to do addition or subtraction before I get to my brackets. So in this case, I'm going to take away 6 from both sides. When I take away 6 from both sides, I'm left with 3z plus 1 all over 8, or divided by 8, which equals 2z plus 5. Now looking at this and seeing this, we have this one little 8 down here, which is a denominator. Let's get rid of that. The only way to get rid of that is to multiply both sides by 8. And so this is what it would look like. We'd have 8 onto 3z plus 1 divided by 8 equals 8 onto 2z plus 5. I then go ahead and simplify everything, and I'm left with 3z plus 1 equals 8 onto 2z plus 5. Now, performing the distributive property, I'm going to then distribute the 8 onto the 2z and onto the 5. So I have 3z plus 1, equals 8 times 2z plus 8 times 5. And now I'm going to simplify again, and I get 3z plus 1 equals 16z plus 40. Now notice that I don't have a lot of space here on my page. So what I've done is I've actually carried this over to another page. All right, so when I carry this over, I'm just going to carry over this exact same equation here, and it's just going to go to the top of the next page. So I put my regular question, the whole question up here at the top so that you were familiar with what question we were working on in case you're going back and looking at these notes afterwards. And notice that I just wrote continuation on here. That way I was sure to follow what question it was and that I'm continuing with the next step of where I left off from before. Okay, so looking back, we had 3z plus 1 equals 16z plus 40 here. And we go over to the next slide. And so our next line is going to be that I want to get all of the z's to one side. So I have 3z minus 16z plus 1 equals 16z minus 16z plus 40. So I subtracted 16z from both sides. Then simplifying, I'm left with negative 13z plus 1 equals 40. So the next step that I need to do is I need to get rid of this 1 that is on the left side. I want to get all my numbers to the right side. So I need to subtract 1 from both sides. So negative 13z plus 1 minus 1 equals 40 minus 1. Go ahead and simplify again, and I have negative 13z equals 39. So by now you should be able to guess what our next step is. So if you think you know what the answer is, shout it out. Not too loud, just shout it out so that we know you're listening. So if you said you're going to divide by 39, then you're wrong. If you said that you're going to multiply by negative 13, then you're wrong. Hopefully you said that you're going to divide both sides by negative 13. So when I divide both sides by negative 13, so I have negative 13z divided by negative 13 equals 39 divided by negative 13. I simplify and I get an answer of x equal to negative 3. So take a moment and throw this into the equation and just make sure that you have balanced out. I would also like you to just stop for a moment and ask any questions that you might have so that you can be sure to stay on top of your work and that you don't have any problems that are going to keep you from being able to move forward. Because shortly you're going to be not left on your own, that's for sure, but you will be working on your own to try and get the answers to these questions. The next question that we have is found at the top of the same page that we were working on, and this is how you would read this one. 3 onto 7n plus 13, all over top of 12n plus 15. This could also be read as 3 onto 7n plus 13 divided by 12n plus 15 equals 2. So the first step that I want to do is I want to get rid of this denominator here. Because remember, these have these imaginary brackets around them, and I need to take care of the whole term by itself there. Okay, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 12n plus 15. I lied. I'm going to do the distributive property first. I bet you some of you knew that, and I was tricking you. Yeah, that's right. I was just trying to trick you into thinking I knew what I was doing. So I guess we're going to do the distributive property first. And so we have 3 times 7n plus 3 times 13 all over top of 12n plus 15 equals 2. Now our next step is going to show us what it looks like all together. So we have 21n plus 39 divided by 12n plus 15 equals 2. So similar to one of the first questions that we worked with, we once again want to get rid of this 12n plus 15 first, and then we'll move it to the right side. In order to do that, we have to multiply both sides by 12n plus 15. And notice, I guess I put a little note here. Totally forgot about this. I put brackets around it, and this way it's reminding you that everything in a fraction must be dealt with as an individual term. So whatever's on top is one term, whatever's on the bottom is one term. So finally I get to the point where I'm multiplying both sides by 12n plus 15. And then what I'm left with when I move to the next side, okay, so carrying my equation back to the top here, I have 21n plus 39 left because the 12n plus 15 cross out, and that equals 2 onto 12n plus 2 onto 15. So notice what I did there is I just kind of skipped a step here, didn't I? Eventually you will get the hang of this, and that's exactly what you'll be able to do. So I kind of did 2 steps in one. So I just canceled these guys out, but I also performed the distributive property. So simplifying my terms here, I get 21n plus 39 equals 24n plus 30. So 2 times 12n equals 24n, 2 times 15 equals 30. So once again, I want to get n to the left side, and I want to get all of my integers or all my numbers to the right side. So I need to subtract 24n in order to get it to the left side. So I subtract both sides, negative 24n from both sides here, and then I simplify, and I'm left with a blank page. Okay, so let's hope I don't have any more problems here, technical difficulties and all that stuff. So I wanted to get 24n over to the left side, so I subtracted 24n from both sides. Then when I simplify my equation, I get negative 3n plus 39 equals 30. So once again, I have this 39 left here on the left side, and I want to get it over to the right side. So I need to subtract 39 from both sides. This is my equation for this step. Negative 39 plus 39 minus 39 equals 30 minus 39. Simplifying all my numbers here, I'm left with 3n equals negative 9. And we can easily figure out that the answer is going to be 3. But in order to show the work for it, you need to divide both sides by negative 3. So when I divide both sides by negative 3, I then can say that n equals 3. So now that we've had the chance to go through some difficult ones, plus some of the easier ones, I'm going to ask you to please finish the first page that was supposed to be done for homework, but I know some of you had difficulty with it. I want you to also attempt the second page. Now, I have the answers for all of these questions figured out already, and your teacher will be able to help you out with that. And for those of you that will know how to work ahead for these, then what I'll do is I will give you the answers all in on one page so that you have them and you don't have to necessarily wait for help to get the answers. You can keep trying yourself to figure out what the answers are all on your own.